Our next book report is on something that I was hoping to get my hands on as soon as I learned it existed. Today's book report is on Shopping Mall by Joshua Millican. You may be more familiar with the movie, initially released under the title Killbots, until a genius out there realized that a better name existed. Shopping Mall is a beautiful example of two things: 1980s cinema and another example in the long list of books that are superior to their movie counterparts. But first, I'll give you a very basic plot outline, which involves the hubris of man and how all that we can create ultimately may be our own unmaking. The story begins with Securitronics, having created these neat security robots to patrol the local mall, Park Plaza. At the mall, several couples are going to have a late night party after closing time. Pretty standard horror movie fare. The robots go mad, murder ensues. But perhaps to show you the genius that is Chopping Mall the novel, I must read to you the opening lines. Dr. Simon's mouth is dry and his balls are sweaty. First, you'll notice that we're in the present tense. Pure literary move by Joshua Millican, something that can never actually be captured in the same way on the silver screen. This initial contradiction, though, is one thing we'll see throughout the novel. The robots are called protectors, and they're going to kill indiscriminately. We have mismatched couples, sweet girls making Molotov cocktails, and a horse gets disintegrated. A world of contradiction that is subtly woven throughout this book that the movie attempts to capture but fails at. Anyway, after we get to the setup for this story, we get to the protectors worrying about. There's a gentleman who's in the movie just to pull off some great lines in the opening. He describes the middle robot as having an ethnic quality to it, and every actor in the movie is going to embrace the sort of movie they're in, not realizing that the sort of movie they're in should be the insightful, literary Chopping Mall, as opposed to the fun but ultimately less literary movie. But this is a book report, not a movie report. So let's go over some of the things that are missing that helps bring context that the movie abandons so that it can rush to a more cinematic conclusion. The novel opens by showing us the corruption of both science and government, with a prologue in a deep, dark boardroom where Securitronics is accelerating its program in time for an election, a crass political decision that is going to be the start of all of the problems. Or so it will seem until the swerve that you'll get at the end, but only if you actually read Joshua Millican's masterpiece. After that is the scene where we have in the same thing in the movie, lead in with the commercial, and then the discussion with all of the adults at the mall. Here, though, the movie takes the novel's dialogue almost word for word, but it doesn't identify who's talking, and it cuts out part of this scene, specifically the high-minded discussion of Asimov, instead of this Socratic, haunting dialogue and back and forth that Joshua Millican's novel contains, that raises the questions about AI and a concern that echoes even stronger today. That deeper meaning is lost as some editors slashed it down, probably due to runtime, considering that pacing was more important than thematic consistency. The loss of these lines to Chopping Mall's cinematic experience, as well as the loss of the mall mole, is almost akin to the loss of Tom Bombadil from the Fellowship of the Ring. Our next main difference, where the book once again shines, is how it draws deeper connections between our characters. They become people we can care about, not mere caricatures on the screen. In the movie, the male leads are introduced to us without the camaraderie and history that deepens our understanding of their friendship and truly allows us to feel the tragedy when it strikes. Even if they do keep the beautiful line that is, and I'll quote, "You're becoming a real candidate for prickhood." The deeper meaning of this line is lost to us without all of the knowledge that you can only get by reading the book. We even lose some of Allison and Susie's interaction at Luigi's, losing the understanding of their inside jokes, though for some reason the movie kept them there without any explanation, a mystery to all who have not read what is perhaps one of the greatest literary moves of our time, novels of our time. The stories after the opening maintain a similar structure. The novel gives us, however, insight into their internal voice, allowing us to understand the reality that is the world of Chopping Mall. We lose a bunch of interesting character beats in the movies, like Susie's paranoia, the married couple's technical and engineering background. Allison's relationship with her father is touched on in the movie, but themes of how important it is to her in the book make the conclusion much more satisfying. So, to get back to the book on a technical, serious level here, the writing is writing. If I had to describe it to you, I would say it adheres to English language conventions with regularity. The way it's written is, I assume, actually to try and move along briskly like a movie, edited down by 19 minutes to get to the good parts version. All of the all of the writing here is actually just in service of getting the movie into a book and moving it out. If you go through the novel itself, you'll notice it's full of typos. It's clearly sort of rushed as a book, which is an interesting thing that this novel is a patched together combination of love and crass commercialism, which is perhaps a perfect synthesis for a book that's a love letter to a movie about murder robots in a shopping mall. I could go beat for beat to show you the differences. I think we touched on a couple of them, but the important thing is that you really should, if you loved the movie, just read the book for yourself. Just to, it's maybe 100 and some pages. It's about 120 pages. You'll probably do it in an afternoon. That's what I did. But just remember, even after you read it, the important thing is to keep our elitist book snob personality going and always state to anyone else that the book is always better. Except possibly Forrest Gump. That movie is probably better. Anyway, have a nice day. That's our very quick book report on Chopping Mall by Joshua Millican. Either way, there it is.